So.
Okay, I'm ready right now.
Okay. So, welcome, friends. My name is Carmela from Cornerstone Sales Insight. And today I'm very excited. This is episode 3 of my Cornerstone Insight series. So, we're going to focus today on sales. And my very good friend, Steve Weinberg, whom I absolutely adore, agreed to share his insights as a former sales leader, successful individual contributor, and recently author of 2 wonderful books. One is published in 2022, Above Quota Performance, which is a wonderful guidebook that I've read for salespeople to achieve high performance. And in 24, he published Above Quota Sales Management for those sales leaders that want to be successful, which one was judged to be the best business book by New England Book Festival in 24. And it was received as an honorable mention in the same category. Steve, welcome. Thank you so much. Today, we are focusing on how to maintain being a successful high performer. And let's start. Let's jump right into it. We're going to explore mindset and motivation, time management and prioritization, that's a big one, and collaboration and impact. So let's start with the mindset and motivation. When we talk about mindset, in your experience, what are the key mental habits or attitudes that high performing individuals consistently exhibit to be successful?
First of all, thank you for having me on this conversation, Carmela. I love to speak with another great high performer and friend. But to answer your question about mindset, I have studied high performers for years and tried to figure out why some salespeople succeed and why others don't. And it's really very difficult to come up with generalizations, but some of the factors that I really have found to be very, very important is, and you mentioned mindset. I think that all high performers are self-motivated people. These are people that I don't need to poke and say, hey, get out and work today, call prospects or get out of bed or whatever. These people can't wait to get to start making phone calls and call on people. They also have a very positive mindset. These are not the people that sit around and mope and complain about not having enough leads or they had a car accident on the way to work today. They're very, very positive. They're very self-confident people. They have a lot of self-respect. And also, one of the other things that I found to be important is they have a belief in their company and in their products, actually, a very strong belief in it. So they actually are evangelists for their company. And even though they're also very positive, these people are not overconfident or arrogant. I also found that high performers also usually have very high character traits. They're very moral and they have high integrity. These are people that want to solve customer problems. They don't want to trick customers. They don't want to try to do what some people call the used car salesman approach. These
Yeah.
people are very sincere and they really want to bring solutions to the customer. And
Excellent
also,
point.
also the highest performers I found to be very consistent. They every month they would bring in sales. It wasn't where you're going like this, where one month was great and another mail was down and then a great and then down. The high performers would always, bring sales in every month.
That is, and so you already touched on a couple of important components. You touched on uh, how motivation is different between someone who performs well occasionally versus someone who performs consistently. You touched on that. They are motivated because they're passionate, they are firm believers, they are stay positive, they have a positive mindset. An obstacle or a problem, they turn it into an opportunity, they turn it into a benefit, they turn it into something that
Right.
will be able to be utilized and really work for the prospect in solving. They're genuinely intent on solving a problem for the prospect. And now we move into, and you touched already on your last minute about management and prioritization. So consistency is important, and you already expressed very well. And it comes down to how someone manages their time. So in your experience, because you managed successfully sales team and you were also an extremely successful individual contributor, so you've seen both sides of the aisle,
Right,
if you will.
right.
What strategies do top performers use to stay productive in your experience? And that obviously includes, the ones that perform consistent versus the ones that perform occasionally that have different motivations.
Time management is very crucial because time is a very finite resource. And when we call on our prospects, we know that most of them are only available from like 9 to 5 every day. So it's very important for salespeople to manage their time and not spend a lot of time between 9 and 5 doing other things such as updating their CRM system and answering emails. But the best salespeople, the high performers, also understand pipeline management, what I call the mathematics of the funnel. They understand that in order to close sales, they need to keep putting in new prospects at the top of the funnel. And where I found many lower performing salespeople is that they would focus only on one aspect of the funnel. They would, maybe get one or two active prospects and then work on only those and try to close those. And then when they close those, hopefully, they had nothing else to work on. So they had to go back and then develop prospects all over again. And they went 3 or 4 months without closing a sale or even having a sale. So the best salespeople understand that pipeline management is crucial, that they need to work all parts of the funnel, what I call the funnel, putting in new prospects and then
Right,
working them all the way down.
right,
And and not just work on closing only. They will receive during the month, receive pressure from their sales managers saying, what are you closing this month? What are you closing? Come
right,
on, you need to close, XYZ account. It's been, it's months that you said it would close. And of course, they get the pressure to do that. And they need to work on those, but they also need to understand that if they don't start putting in new prospects, that they will go several months without any sales. So they have to understand that. Uh, they understand that to reach their quota, it's just not closing occasional sales. They have to consistently close sales. And the high performers have a sense of urgency. They understand that that they need to close sales in order to reach their quota, but they also need to minimize the time they spent on non-sales activities
right.
during the quality sales time. So they should do all their emails and work on their CRM updates. They should do that before 9 in the morning or after 5 at night, when they normally can't reach prospects. I found in my last position when I actually surveyed the salespeople that they were devoting about 25% of their quality sales time on non-sales activities, going to meetings, which they sometimes can't avoid. But the other things that I mentioned, they were spending time doing that instead of calling on customers and working on developing new leads, coming up with new marketing plans, and that was a waste of time. And then you just can't get that time back.
Absolutely. And that actually touches on, that's where a sales leader we should
Right,
have to step in. So moving away from the data crunching, from the urgency and the pressure to close deal A with
right,
company B, versus, let's keep that momentum going. Let's touch base, those one-on-one weekly meetings, which, you know, um, you already touched on this. It really depends on how a salesperson reacts to those challenges and how they try to stay on track. And I remember, I agree with you that non-sales, what I call sales ops activities, I used to do it on a weekend or after hours or before hours. And on Fridays, I would after hours or weekend, I would plan my week. So have block time to reach out, knowing my categories, right? Knowing who my prospects were, and the best way to reach out to my prospects is, and block those times. Create and manage roadshows, for example, which are excruciatingly important. So these are some of the strategies that I used to utilize. And I used to, tell my managers in the past, I don't stay motivated because of making money only. Making money is the ultimate goal, but there's
Right.
so much behind it to get you to that goal. There are several milestones and steps. There is consistency, there is strategies, there is planning, there is avoiding pitfalls, learning from mistakes, which can keep a salesperson on track when there is a challenge. There was a challenge for me, it was a wait for, say, okay, that's a problem. What's the solution? If there is no perfect solution, that's fine, but there is a solution out there. There is always
Right,
a
and there
solution
are,
out there.
and during that time, you will also have to seek, sometimes when you're developing a solution for a customer, you need to talk to some of your peers and some of the support people and developers to get answers, and those people are only available during those
Right,
times.
right,
Another
right.
aspect is just to have the discipline to know that I used to tell people that you had to call, let's say, 20 or 25 new prospects every single day. So you had to make the time to do that. And I,
Yep,
I would put a sign up in front of them, call the prospects. So you
right.
need to, the salespeople need to be very disciplined in order to consistently do that and not get stuck on other activities.
And again, that falls also on the sales leadership and
Right.
the leadership in general, because sales leaders have to report to the senior leadership team. And at the end of the day, uh, um, the sales complexities associated in today's world, it's not like it used to be before, right? We all know that you have to have
Right,
them. So
exactly.
it gets more complicated when you have to have the sequence, and you have to have some sort of plan for your sequence, multi-pronged approach on how to do prospecting, what works, what doesn't work. And I remember when I was training, and the training that I do today as a founder of a sales consulting a business, training is really important because it's a tool that helps you refine and helps you being successful, but you have to have somebody guiding you at the same time. So it's
Right.
really a true collaboration, which brings me to the next point. um, how do high performers maximize the impact of their impact while maintaining strong relationships? And the reason why I ask this question is because I've heard this from salespeople in the past. I don't want to, I don't want to bother, or I don't want to be bothered, working in collaboration with other teams, which is wrong because that again, multi-pronged approach, you have different stakeholders. So what is your take on that?
I've seen some sales performers, I won't call them high sales performers, but I've seen some people that were lone eagles and that would try to work without any cooperation with anybody in the company. And those people normally would be like a meteor. They'd have a couple sales and then they'd fall off and never sell much again. But the high performers are people that understand that sales is a collaborative approach, and they need to certainly work with sales support people, with marketing people, with legal people, with product management, sometimes with development, definitely with their sales managers. And they need to sometimes bring them all together and say, okay, I've got this problem here. I'm trying to sell this customer. I think our product or service can help them, but I think we need a new approach to this. How do we do this?
Right.
And I think when you bring these people together, I have found almost 100% of the time they'll really be helpful and try to develop solutions for you or different ideas that can help you close the sale.